Hello everybody! Infinite Shinjo here. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Anime. And I know for a fact this one is going to be out very closely behind the last episode. But this is a video I really wanted to get out before it gets too dated. And I hope you guys like how the new thumbnail looks. I kind of wanted to change it up and make it a little bit, I don't want to say more presentable, but just make it look better in my opinion, because I just want to keep on growing making thumbnails, and the other one worked for the last 30 episodes, but I'll see how this one looks, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, I can go on to something different. It's been a little bit since I've done this, but today I'm going to be counting down my favorite winter anime. Now, I say counting down, but there's realistically no way that I can count down every single series. And even a lot of them I'm not even watching, so I'm not counting them. The only ones that I'm counting are those that I saw the plot of, the opening of, various clips of, and thought, this looks interesting, or this sounds interesting, so I'll watch through. The only ones, and I'm double checking over the list right now, the only ones that are here are those that I've seen at least 3 episodes of. I initially counted one that I only watched 1 episode of, but I felt that isn't really fair because I watched more episodes of the other shows. And out of the 8 that I'm going to be discussing here, I'm going to be ranking them starting from the one that I liked the least, working up to the one that I liked the best. So in a way, it's like a top 10 and Let's Talk Anime episode all in one. Now the objective of this video is for me to rank the shows that I like and kind of incentivize you guys to watch them. Get you guys interested in watching some of these shows. So I'm not going to go over major characters, major potential spoilers early on in the show. I'll just talk about overall what I like about the show so far, what I don't like about the show, what I feel like they could work on moving forward, and of course, these shows might have already resolved the issues that I have by the time this comes out, so just keep in mind this video is about a couple of weeks old. So sadly, kicking off this video is Koisuro Asteroid, or Asteroid in Love, and I did kind of want to like this show, because it's from Dogakobo. Dogakobo makes some pretty good anime from what I've seen. I really like Dumb Barrel from last year, and New Game is my absolute favorite. But the thing with this is, outside of the whole hinted romantic subplot between the 2 lead girls, it's kind of just there. In a way, it's like Laid Back Camp in that it's trying to teach you about science and meteors and asteroids and all this interstellar stuff. But it's done through a club, and honestly, there are a lot of characters that I don't really care about. I get that the show's probably just trying to be more relaxed, more chilled, just something nice to sit out and relax to. But honestly, it's kind of boring in an extent. And if the show keeps the pace that it is going, it's just going to be another one of those shows where nobody remembers it, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's the show about the girls watching stars and meteorites and stuff. What happened in that show again? I know it may sound like I'm being a bit harsh, but I would much rather have a show that's kind of outlandish with its plot, rather than a show that just sticks to a cookie cutter formula and really has nothing to show for it, in my opinion. But it is still a fine show at the end of the day. If I have a rough day at work and think I need something to just sit back and relax to, I might put this on. But if you're asking me if I'm going to keep this show up week to week, the answer is a resounding no. So up next, oh boy, how am I going to explain this? Up next is Interspecies Reviewers. Now, if you guys don't know about this show, all you essentially need to know is the clip that is shown at the start of every single episode. I'm not going to be able to remember it word for word, but it essentially says, this show has mature themes and images. Viewer discretion is advised. And honestly, I rank this above Asteroid just because while it's something that I'm not going to continue watching, at least it has some comedic moments to it. And I'm scared to even say what the show's about because of YouTube's whole system of this has to be made for kids. But essentially, all you need to know is that we got a main cast. I don't even want to say a main trio because there are sometimes more characters that are tagged along. And basically, they go to brothels. I'm not going to say what that is. You have to look that up for yourself. But yeah, that's basically the best way I can explain this. It's one of those shows that YouTube doesn't like talking about, I'm sure, just because of the content of it. And honestly, outside of a few random scenes in the first 3 episodes, it was a fun show, but at the same time, it's one that I'm probably not going to continue watching. But though it has scenes that I wouldn't enjoy on a daily basis, at least it's not bland like Asteroid. That's the only reason it's above it. And that opening is super catchy. This one I wasn't sure about including, but since it is airing this season, I guess I might as well include it, and that's Heya Camp. And Heya Camp is essentially a spin-off of Laid Back Camp, only 8 minutes each episode, where it basically has little bite-sized chunks of the show. I think the essential purpose of this spin-off is just to satisfy people until the movie and the second season come out, which can't really fault it for. But from the episodes that I've seen so far, only Nadeshiko is in like maybe 1 or 2 episodes maybe, because her and the other 2 girls are just going on a stamp rally. So I don't know if it's just going to be little bite-sized chunks like that for the rest of the series, or Rin and her are actually going to meet up again. But of course, you know me. I love Nadeshiko, and I found out through watching the episode that is how her name is pronounced, so that's probably how I'm going to pronounce it unless I forget again. That's really the only reason that it's above the other 2. That and the other 2 are kind of bland and questionable. So the next one is something that might have the record for the longest anime title in existence. I'm kidding, of course, but that is Magia Record Side Story, Madoka Magica Gaiden or something like that. It's something like that. I don't remember exactly how it's pronounced. It might be Magia Record Madoka Magica Side Story. It's something like that. Just for the sake of this video, I'll call it Madoka Magia. Just because. And I haven't seen anything online to prove it, but I think this is based off of a mobile game, which I can kind of understand because it just seems like something that'll be based off of a mobile game, if that makes any sense. From what I've seen from the show so far, I can see that it has promise. It's not like the original, where it's all super nitty-gritty all the time, everybody in a battle royale sort of setting. But at the same time, it does still have that original charm that the original had. The same studios working on it. I can tell the original music tracks are still in it. I'm caught up to episode 3 right now, and one of the characters from the original cast is in the show. So the only question I have is this, like it says, an actual side story where the events of the original didn't happen? Or is this before the events of the original, or is it after? I guess that's really the only complaint that I have. But overall, it's a fun show, and I'm certainly going to continue it. So making it to top 4 is Bofuri. I didn't want to get hurt, so I maxed out my defense. It's something like that. The show's title is on par with the last entry with having the longest title, so I'll just call it Bofuri. basically, it's a girl that has no experience with video games. So she goes to the video game, and it's VR, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like it's life or death. Like, if you die in the game, you die in real life. No, it's literally just VR, just having fun playing the game. But since she has no idea how to play the game, she decides, well, I don't want to get hurt, so she gets a big freaking shield, and every single one of her points, she just throws it into defense, and she just basically becomes OP from that, kind of. And she also has a best friend, which, kind of like Kosuro Asteroid, seems like there may be some sort of romantic feelings there, according to JoJo Talks Too Much. But this one's just a fun show, because normally in shows I tend not to like characters that are just OP just because they have to be OP just to fit the show. But at the same time, with Maple here, her VR name, she is OP, but she understands nothing about video games. So it's just hilarious where it's just like, what did I just do? Did I just kill that thing and get all my points in defense and whatever? She's literally just winging it by just playing this game, but she is becoming kind of OP, although they did nerf her in the recent episode, which I find hilarious. If you like slice of life cute girls anime, and you also like isekai anime, then this show is probably up your alley. In top 3 is Science Fell in Love, so I tried to prove it. And I don't think I have anything else to say about the show. That basically sums up everything about the show. But if I have to go into details, it's kind of like Kaguya-sama Love is War, except it's with everybody being a genius. Because you got the two main leads right at the front there. The girl walks into their office. I think they have a job at like a community science center or something like that. I don't exactly remember. The setting doesn't really matter in this situation. But she walks into the office, the guy's already there, and she just says, hey, by the way, I think I have a crush on you. I think I like you. And he's just like, wait, what? And instead of being like every other romance comedy while they take 12 episodes to realize their true feelings and get together at the end, instead they decide to do what any sane person would do. Any sane scientist would do, I should say. Because they decide to run experiments to prove her feelings for him and eventually his feelings for her. Because it's just like, well, if he's near me, my heart starts racing. But is that specifically for this person, or is it for any number of people? Meanwhile, you got Kanade in the back with the brown hair. She's the straight man, or straight woman, I should say, for the group, where she's just like, look, it's obvious you two like each other, just get together already. She's the one that's trying to hold this group together, where everybody else is, I don't want to say flanderized, where it's ridiculous, but they're smart science sense, but not smart in the literal sense. Now that is the whole plot of the first couple of episodes, yes, but the show is just so funny and off the wall with how they handle stuff that even me spoiling this shouldn't be much of an issue. If you like comedy, this is it. It's a nice change that it's an actual comedy that's revolving around adults instead of kids for a change. Now for these last two, you could really put them at any order. You could have number 2 be at number 1 and vice versa. But I decided to think on which one of the shows I look forward to watching week to week the most and go through that. So that's why number 2 is Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, which from what I gathered from the 4th episode, one of the two, when they're in the actual student body event or whatever, where they're trying to get the money, I believe that Eizouken is basically film club or something to that effect, which I didn't know. I spent the first couple of episodes not even sure what an Eizouken is. But Basically, everybody is clamoring over this anime because it's done by this legendary animator, mangaka, whatever, called Masaki Yuasa, I believe. He's done a whole bunch of other trippy sort of stuff where it's weird, but at the same time, it's enthralling. And this is one that everybody is talking about. And at the same time, I like it, but I personally like the one at number 1 more. But this show is basically... Actually, now that I think about it, that's not really a crazy comparison to make. If you remember that Cartoon Network show from back in the 90s, early 2000s, Ed, and Eddy, this is basically it. Like, literally, you got a group of 3 that are trying to raise money, and one of them has a downright kind of odd, unhealthy obsession with money. You can't really say that this isn't anything like Ed, and Eddy. But at the same time, it's different from Ed, and Eddy because they actually have continuity with their shows, where Ed, and Eddy doesn't really. But this show is fun. It literally brings imagination to life. If you like the whole bring your imagination to life sort of idea, then this show is fun. Plus, that opening is pretty good. I have it on my phone, and when I'm cleaning at the end of the night, I just have it on my phone, so when I'm just cleaning after a rough day, I'm just listening to that, and it makes all my worries go away. It's great. But we still have one more to cover. And if you saw a recent stream that I did, you probably know what it is already. Number 1 is Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. I think in the stream I also called it Hanako-san, but I think the prefix or suffix, whatever, san is for females, so I'm not entirely wrong in a way, but I am. But basically, this is, I don't want to say dark fantasy, but that's a good way to start explaining it. So you got this school. I can't remember the school's name, but there are 7 rumors floating around. To be fair, probably more, but there are like 7 scary rumors, like word of mouth transfers from person to person, and it becomes like one of those things where, hey, did you hear the story about the headless horseman that lives on the 2nd floor, for example? Where you got Hanako-kun, and he, or at least from what people thought is a she, lives on the, I think the 2nd or 3rd floor women's bathroom. There might be only one, I don't remember. But he's in the women's bathroom at the 3rd stall. You have to knock on the door 3 times and say, Hanako-san, 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 are you there? Or something like that. And he pops up, supposed to pop up, grant your wish, but in exchange, he takes something precious from you. Honestly, that sounds familiar. I can't remember where I heard that from. Not the show itself, but that whole, I'll grant you a wish, but I'm gonna take something from you in order to do it. I don't know if it's from another anime or what. If I think about it before this video comes out, I'll put something in, but I can't think of where it will be. I guess, to be fair, a lot of shows do that, both anime and cartoons, where you can have a wish, but it's not going to turn out the way you think. Where you got Yashiro in the center, who wants her senpai to notice her. But she's basically just using that as a front. I'll get more in depth later if you want me to do another discussion on this. But this show is just fun. The first episode threw me off just from the art style alone, and this show is just bundles of fun. I enjoy watching this week to week, and I work almost every Thursday night, so the instant I come home from work, get showered, get my food ready, and just plop down and watch some good old-fashioned Hanako-san. Hanako-kun, I mean. Cut that out. But I touched on it a couple of times in previous entries, but this opening, I'm upset because I've seen a couple of random off videos of let's rank the top anime openings of winter 2020. And I'm upset because very rarely does this show opening crack at least top 5, which I am just downtrodden and find that hard to believe, because this show's opening is an absolute banger. Like, I mean, say what you will about Izuku in the show, but that opening just gets you in a good mood. This opening, I should say, gets you in a mood to kick some butt. This show's opening is cool. I'm upset that I still have to wait a little bit longer for the full version to come out, but I'm sure it's going to be great. And it was even better that I was watching the episode, the first episode, and then the opening came on and blew me out of the water. I love the whole manga style artwork that the show has. This show is just fun. I mentioned it before on stream, but if you haven't watched it, please give it a chance. At least up to... wait. Maybe you shouldn't give it a 3-episode rule, because if I'm not mistaken, episode 3 is right in the middle of a 2-parter. So, the 4-episode rule? I mean, let's be real. After the first episode, you should be hooked anyway, unless for whatever reason you don't like this show. But I can't see how you wouldn't. This is probably one of my personal favorites from this year. Duh. But it might even crack my favorite anime of all time that I've seen so far. Probably not, maybe not top 5, but probably at least top 10. Although it's not finished yet, so it really could botch the second half of the show. But that's my top 8 anime of winter 2020. I don't know how I'm going to write it on the thumbnail, but I'll figure it out somehow. If you enjoyed, hit that like button. Let me know what else you're watching, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be talking about, oh, what is it, a certain scientific railgun, isn't it having a new series this season? And I know Haikyuu is, but haven't kept up with either one of those 2 series, not really interesting me, but if there's something that enough people talk about in the comment section, it might be something for me to check out. But I will see you in the next episode. Momentai.